Hi, can you hear me? Are you hearing me?
Yeah. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another live. It's your favorite show, Rich Minds Inspiration Show. And we are glad to be showing forth to your um, viewing pleasure this evening, wherever you're watching from. Um, this is a weekly show that we have regularly every Friday by 9 p.m. All things being equal. And with me tonight is Terry. Terry, you might need to change your caption in your name. I'm saying Terry streaming to TikTok. Okay, my name is Tunde, and I'll be anchoring tonight's show. And while we await other panelists in this live, tonight's topic promises to be very, very interesting. We have experienced panelists that are going to be joining us very soon. So tonight's topic has been captioned the immigrant experience in navigating new horizons. So for those of us that want to japa, there's a lot of education for us to get tonight. So sit back, relax, enjoy the show, call on your friends, share the live while we have a nice time tonight. You might want to join us in this live. Just signify on the comment section that you want to join us, and then we'll share the link of the platform we are using so that you can be able to join us. Okay, so if we are good, let's just set the ball rolling. Okay, so like I said, tonight's discussion is the immigrants' experience in navigating new horizons. By way of introduction, we'll know that, especially in Nigeria, we'll know that the it is a it's no more news. It's a trend that people move from Nigeria or from wherever they are stationed or domiciled to other parts of the world. So immigration is a normal thing to human existence. So, but people find it difficult when they move from where they are to the place of their choice or the greener pasture they seek, the new country they find themselves. So, how do they adjust to the new life that they see themselves? And for those that have already jackpot, like the popular word we use in Nigeria, those that have already traveled, the immigrants that have already found themselves in that new location, how what do they need? What do they need to do to adjust quickly to the new environment? And the Japan enthusiasts, those that would want to travel in the nearest future, what are you supposed to know? What are the challenges that you may possibly face? My panelists will be sharing from their wealth of experiences, the mistakes they made, how they adjusted, what they were supposed to have done right, the the things they did and that worked for them. All of these things are the things that we are going to be discussing tonight. Like I said, it promises to be a a um, a full package tonight, and I hope that the 1 hour will be enough because we are just built to spend 1 hour tonight. Okay, so much, much. I've spent about 5 minutes doing the introduction, so let's just go straight to the topic for tonight. So I'm just going to be asking um, Terry. Terry, so welcome again.
Thank
Um,
you.
okay, so give us a background about the essential things that anybody needs to know um, when you want to, when you're already having it in mind that you want to relocate from your current location to any new place, any other nation in the world. What are the essential things that you should bear in mind that you should know?
Okay, thank you, Tunde, for that beautiful introduction. Yeah, there are a number of things to know, but I will start with a brief introduction myself, just to explain that emigration and immigration are um, things that have always existed since human existence. So people move from one place to the other for various reasons, sometimes economic, sometimes for security reasons, and the list is endless. Even in the Bible, there are many examples of when God Himself recommended His servants to travel or to leave a particular place, sometimes for protection, sometimes for economic reasons. I'll just give two examples. The first one is when the family of Israel, which is Jacob, had to relocate to Egypt, and they were fortunate that they had um, their relative Joseph already settled in Egypt. And this helped this family to be able to survive a great famine at the time. Another example was when King Herod was after the life of the Messiah, who he did not know at the time, but he knew he was a child, and he was determined to have any child killed in the Bethlehem area. And God, through his angels, directed Joseph to immediately immigrate to Egypt. And that was how Jesus Christ's life was spared. And it was only to come back when King Herod was dead. So, anyway, this is just to illustrate that immigration and emigration exist and there is little we can do about it. However, what are the things that we need to know before we make that big move? First of all, we want to be sure of our purpose. What is the reason of doing this? We want to be sure that we know the route we are trying to use and we are meeting up with all the criteria that is required. Because one of the things that happens sometimes is people get stranded, especially when they arrive in their destination without fulfilling all the requirements. So that's the first thing. Identify what you're going for. Ensure that you've met all the requirements to be able to do this. The next stage, if you fulfilled all this, will then be to start your travel process. In a lot of cases, you need to get information. One area that people get stranded a lot is deciding whether to come immediately with their family or to move initially and then bring their family after a short stay. While I'm an advocate for never leaving your family for protracted periods of time, we do know that if you carry them and it's not favorable, you might actually find yourself stranded. So that's another consideration that we have to make. I recall when a friend called me within a short notice that he was relocating to the UK with his family, had 5 kids. And the first thing I said was, "Don't tell me you're all coming at the same time." And he said, "Oh, yeah, we're coming at the same time." He was so excited. I just told him, "If you had spoken to me earlier on, I would have told you one person comes, arrange everywhere, and bring the family." And the truth is, they went through a lot before they could settle down. They went through hell, if I'm allowed to use that word. So that's another thing we need to check, ensure that find out if it's proper or right for you to move with your family at the time, especially when it comes to accommodation, settling down, and the first few months, especially if you are going because of economic reasons, maybe to work. So the first few months, you might need to earn some money to be able to rent a proper accommodation for your family and all that. Those are the things you need to check. And then I want to stop here. I want us to just dwell a bit around before you move, before we then go into the things that you might face when you finally arrived in your destination and general advice that we can give people based on our little experience. Hi, Maz. Welcome.
Apologies for being
Mas,
late.
welcome.
No, we
Thank you.
understand. It's Friday.
Did you go for Owambe?
No, we went for something else. Yeah, not Owambe.
Because this hair looks like the Owambe hairdo.
I didn't
You
want the
know,
uh,
Okay, okay. So before Mas came in, we're trying to lay some foundation and some bedrock on what people need to know before they consider migrating. And Terry has dwelled so much on the reasons why people, even from the historical perspective, from the Bible days, we saw the reasons why there was need for immigration, and so the basic things that you need to know before you embark on that journey. So we won't go, because sometimes 1 hour looks as if it's long, but time may not be our friend. So I will just go straight to Mars in asking this question. Um, how can um, how can an immigrant overcome cultural shock and language barriers? Because you find most times that after you've succeeded, gone to get your visas, and you've traveled. The first thing that you are faced with is that change of culture and language barrier. So how can an immigrant overcome cultural shock and language barriers?
so to begin with,
Mars
I would
will say this, and I will still expect. Sorry, I will still expect Terry to share from his experience, because of the fact that of the countries that you visited in the past. So,
right.
Mars, take the floor.
Yeah, so to begin with, I always say do your research. You must do your research. You must understand the language. So the first time that I migrated from Nigeria was when I went to school and I went to Cyprus. When they call Cyprus, most of us do not realize there are two Cyprus. There's North Cyprus and there's South Cyprus, and they speak different languages.
Okay.
So South Cyprus speak Greek, and then the North Cyprus speak Turkish. So when I was going, I had to do my own research. And this was early 2000s. So I had to do my research, find out what country I'm going to. Is an island, understand what kind of what are their beliefs, what's their culture. I was also trying to understand their food so that I know whether do we have African shops there. And at that point, there was no African shops there. It's better now, they have African shops there. So things like that, you do your research. And then when you get there, of course, you're going to definitely struggle a bit. There's no doubt about it. Nothing prepares you, but and sometimes the only thing that I would say is if you've done your research, it can help you a bit. But if you've not done any research and you just went there like that, thinking, I'm just going, the pain you will experience is visceral. It will hit your bones, it will hit your organs. I don't know how to explain it. Because first thing, if you can't communicate in the language that they're speaking there, how are you going to survive? Then my second experience in migration was coming to the UK. Yeah. And I came to the UK. Even if they speak English in the UK, but I was much better then because I was much wiser. From Cyprus to UK, I was much wiser then. I already met quite a lot of British people coming in, and I understood that they're different English. The English that Liverpool people will speak is different. Bromley, from the ones from the Bromley will speak. The one the Welsh will speak to you is different. The ones the Birmingham people will speak, the way the Scottish people will speak, the way the Irish people will speak, they're all different. Even the Scouse, when they speak to you, if you don't put your ear very well. And what prepared me for that was because I studied tourism in Cyprus. I worked with a lot of them there. So I kind of, my ear tuned. When I'm talking to this one, my ear tunes immediately. I started learning to tune. Then when I came here, I was like, okay, I'm here now. I need to deal with this when I'm on, when my, some of because my career journey, I worked on call centers as well. And I worked with shipping line. So a lot of customer service, when you're speaking to them, you have to understand, what are you saying? Instead of all those things like, you understand, like you say, pardon, I beg your pardon,
Come in.
sorry, can you come again, please? Also, another shock that hit me is the fact that you don't owe here. Oh. There's no like, I want to owe you money. It's written down. So it's the way let me explain myself. You know how you go to someone's shop and say, I want to buy something and come and pay you later. It doesn't work that way here. The way it works is, like for instance, your phone contract is a contract. They'll give you payment, installmental payments, and you cannot miss those installmental payments. So these are things that I have to understand. It doesn't work like that. From Cyprus, when I moved from Nigeria to Cyprus, I understood when you go to buy something and you're not able to pay the full amount, like cash out. You actually do installments. There's another option, payment option, where you do installment, and you cannot miss that installment payment because it affects your credit rating. And here we live and breathe credit rating. Credit rating is you see credit rating and you see reference. We don't joke with that. When you live in a house and you destroy the house for them, reference go hard you. Or you worked in a company and you left a very bad reputation. Not only have you shut the door for yourself, but you shut the door for other people that look like you. That's what people don't think. I always think of how will this action I'm making affect other people coming, to people that are coming. It's not just about me. Am I burning bridges? Sometimes we have to think critically. Am I burning bridges for other people that you never know tomorrow? So I think that one of the biggest problems immigrants face is understanding the way of living in that place. And the only way the only suggestion I can say is you actually need to do your research. And when you get to that place, try to integrate people. Don't just go and form alliance with only your own country people. Because how would you both know? How would you all know how to? Yes, it's good to have alliance of have meeting like meeting of Nigerians in Edinburgh, Nigerians but actually try to understand the people. Don't be so quick to write them off. I hear people saying, their food is bland, writing them off. You need to get to know them. How if they tell you your food is sticky, how will you feel? It's when I came here, when I went to Cyprus, I started understanding that some of us are very racist. Nigerians, we don't realize it. Africans, we don't realize
Of
sometimes some
course.
things we say it without filter, and it's quite cutting. It's quite hurting, and it cuts the way we say it to people. So you need to learn to integrate with the people you're there. You are there as a visitor. You're there as an ambassador, if you like. I would say we are ambassadors. We are immigrants here. We should also know that these people have accommodated us. We also have the responsibility of understanding them. Yes, it's not everything I will take on. It's not all their culture I will take on or all their beliefs I'll take on. But I owe it to these people who have welcomed me, whether they welcome me or not, or I'm here already. They, at least they didn't kill me. Let me actually try to integrate to know them. Thank you.
That's 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 um expository. So Terry, what's your take? How can immigrants overcome cultural shock and language barriers?
Yeah, so I'll just build on what Maza said. I'll start with the cultural aspects. Like she said, research. You have to research. You have to ask questions. If you have the privilege of knowing or belonging to groups where you can discuss these issues, like WhatsApp groups, they're very common these days, then utilize it. Um, then be prepared for the worst. Just be prepared because no matter how much research you do, things will keep popping up. Even till now, I'm still learning new things. I'll give you just one example. In the nature of the work I do, I interact a lot with very vulnerable people. Sometimes they are in pain, and in my culture, we say sorry. It's not a big deal. Sorry just means I feel your pain. But over here, sorry means I am at fault, so please forgive me. It took me some time to be able to adjust to just that. That's just a very little example. And I didn't know initially, and those are things you may not find when you do a research. You may just need to live it through. So I'm with a patient is whatever going through something, and then I have to say, oh, sorry. And it's like, it spends another 2 minutes trying to explain to me that, no, doctor, you don't have to say sorry. It's not your fault. And I'm like, no, sorry, it's just sorry I said. So that's just an example. So things like when you greet people um, and you're not responded to, it takes some time to get used to that. When I was in the Arab country, that was when I first experienced it. But I made up my mind right from time that there are aspects of our culture which I was never going to change. And one of them is being polite and greeting people when I meet for the first time during the day. And I found out that it works. I have two experiences of people. I always see them in the morning and just say good morning and I move. And they don't even respond until one day they start responding and they start looking forward to saying hi and good morning. And you will know that, yeah, there's a difference. But initially, when you do that, they feel, oh, this person is timid or something because they're not used to people just greeting them. When they see that, oh, you are a very confident person and this is how you do your things, you like to just acknowledge them, they get used to it. So, culture, you learn about the culture, also try to teach them about your own cultures because we also have a lot we can we can teach people about how we do things. Um, and there are things we can also learn from them. Be open mind, learn as much as you can, but be prepared and be observant for little things that makes a whole lot of difference. Like Matt said, we are ambassadors. Just because of how well the impression you gave to your colleagues, your co-workers or whatever would mean that they would have a higher chance of wanting to employ someone else like you next time. So that's the little I want to add from there. Then in terms of language, the a lot of routes to travel usually would take care of language in terms of making sure that you meet the minimum requirements. Sometimes might be IELTS, sometimes might be other kind of language assessment exams.
Test.
Yeah, so most times if you come through education and all that, but even if you meet the minimum requirements, the language might still be difficult. Like for me, um, I had this experience with a lot of the people I met saying, "Oh, Don't tell me you've just stayed there for a few months. You speak like you've been there for some time. So meaning that they are acknowledged that English is okay. No, this is where the problem is. When they start to joke and laugh and enter that mood, I cannot seem to understand what they are saying. But if we're just talking normally, I understand them, they understand me. When they enter jokes and I just most times I just can't understand what they're saying. So that's to tell you that despite um how much you try, you might need more time to understand their language. Always feel free to tell them that they should also try to learn about your language. Be proud of where you're from, proud of your own language. Then I will need to just mention one cultural shock again. So this is friends or colleagues inviting you for a dinner, you know. So Niger mentality now. You invited me, so I'm not expecting to pay, like if I invite in Nigeria, like for example, if I say, "Oh, Tunde, please, do you mind joining me for a dinner tomorrow? And please come with your family." I trust you. Tunde is going to come with the mind that I am prepared to take care of the bills. So, but here it was one big
I'll,
cultural shock. I it took me time to understand because
I'll come with
and
my
when I
pulse filled up.
and when I found
Oh
out,
God.
I felt embarrassed
Oh
because they will
God.
now not tell you. They will later pay. But later, when I found out that this was the expectation, I then felt embarrassed because, oh, so it was later I got used to it. So here, when somebody invites you to come over for dinner or whatever, they are still expecting you to pay your bills. It's normal. It means nothing. It's not the. I'm sure if an average Nigerian is listening to me now, it's going to be like, what? But it's normal. And that's the thing about
It's a
cultural
it's
difference.
it's a, it's already it's a culture for them.
Yeah, it's
It's become a
normal, but for
culture.
us, it's maybe abnormal. I mean, so that is why we need to be open to learning new things.
Another one that shocks me, sorry to interrupt, another one
Yeah.
that shocked me was when I was invited for a wedding and you actually had to pay for the drinks. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, I thought, how can you give me food? You want to choke me? The food was, and again, the food is what they give you. It's like, our expectation, like plenty food, like all that. But it was quite, I mean, they're very, yeah, for the UK, yes. But in Cyprus, funny enough, their behaviors is very
Rice.
much to our, because I would say the Turkish are they're
Emilade,
very
come and give
homely
her
people.
rice.
The food they pay for everything. When they accept you as their own, they love you as their own. So I really enjoyed my stay in Cyprus. When you once they like you and they take you, they see that you're
Wait,
like
so let
part
her
of them,
come. Oh.
and they're not like that. They're very homely people. So when they invite you to come to their house, they actually invite you to come and have food, and they love
Emilade.
food a lot. Yeah. Sorry about that. I just wanted to mention the
No, no,
wedding.
it was a
No,
nice
no,
interjection. Yeah.
that's
So I
fine.
think
That's
I'm
nice
done.
addition.
Mm.
Yeah, that's nice addition. Okay, now let's bring this thing back home. You see, many people wants to Japan, but many of the things that we hear about those that have successfully moved to nations like the UK, for instance, when it comes to their marriage, we hear a lot of things. We know that over there, their laws favors the
Say
women
she
or
wants to
the
eat
female
rice.
gender. Now, for those men that wants to travel with their wife, what kind of preparation, what kind of mindset should they have? And in your own experience, what do you consider to be the reasons why? I don't know. That is what we hear. Many marriages. I don't have the statistics to that, but we hear that most families that were doing fine, or most couple that were doing fine, as soon as they travel, they began to have issues. You know, the issues of responsibilities and submission and all of that came up and all of that. So hitherto when they were at home, they were fine. So what kind of mindset should somebody that wants to travel, wants to Japan,
Dr. Terry, you
Please
want to
go
as a
take
first.
them
Finish
couple?
that one first.
first, or do you want me to go first? Dr. Terry, what you want to
What
do?
kind of mindset?
Okay, let me go. Let me
So
go first because he particularly mentioned gender side
I'm
one
good at
particular
it.
time.
I'm good
So
at
let
it.
me
Both
let,
of you are
let me start.
experienced.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
I would start by saying that I want to correct, in my own opinion, I'll correct a bit of misconception
I say you should not be
that the
putting rice on
system
the chair.
favors
Sit on the
women.
floor or go to the dining.
I do not belong to that way of thinking. I just think that the system um, supports
protect.
or creates an environment that supports vulnerable people.
What it makes
And so, because
or the floor
children
makes
and
it.
women
You're a
can be
big girl now.
vulnerable, which is the truth, so it tends to be more obvious. And when it comes
Okay.
to gender wars, I mean, many diverse stuffs that we've heard about. The truth is that if you go in depth, um, the men always have equal opportunity to prove their points. So it now depends on how far you are able to go and what proofs you're able to bring. At the end of the day, in diverse issues, for example, the aim is always mostly to protect the interests of the children. So I find that a lot of men might not be um, willing to go the extra mile, or sometimes are quick to just let things be, and then it gives the impression that it favors the women. There might be some truth to it, but personally, I don't believe it's completely true because whatever case scenario you give, there's always examples of the opposite
The
happening.
opposite.
When you say the man was the one taking care, the woman was the one taking care of the children, the man suffered this, suffered that. There's cases of the opposite where the woman was the one suffering. So it all depends on the particular case. But that
That
said,
you are open to.
yeah. So, but that said, it's then important to address the fact that um, if we are scared of going to a developed country because of some issues, sometimes it just means that we should or need to work on our way of life, and then um, that might help. Then also, um, there is the area of considering your particular situation before moving. You understand? So not everyone might um, be in a favorable situation whereby they want to move with their family at the same time. So sometimes you need to get certain issues, pending issues resolved, before deciding on that big move. Um, this topic you are trying to push us into is actually a very wide one,
Hmm.
and I'm trying to avoid going into because it's not a topic on its own, into sensitive issues. So that's then there was something else about. Okay, let me stop here first. I will still have some contributions, but let's hear what Maz have to say. Meanwhile, Tunde, I think your network might be playing up, so we'll just continue talking pending when you come back.
So the question Tunde asked was, there was well, the comment he made that was that they were fine before coming to the UK. Oh yeah, ultra. But the question I'm going to throw back to him is, were they really fine, or is it because the society has silenced the voice of a particular gender, so that the gender cannot even say anything when things are going wrong? There's a difference between I've been silenced and everything is fine. You know, let's not take that for granted. Don't misunderstand it. Don't, no, don't misunderstand the two of them. The fact that someone is silent doesn't mean that everything is fine. So my question is, those whatever you're saying, I hear you, but those couples, you need to understand. You have to, as Dr. Terry said, you need to get to the root of this, and it's not a one day topic. It's a big topic on its own, because you need to ask yourself, have we been fine? Sometimes my gender can be quiet. They can tolerate nonsense. They will tolerate nonsense, bearing in mind that one day you will be at their mercy, and that's when you will see their true color. So when this happens, and I've seen it a lot happen here. When the woman will endure, when it's not UK, it's not Canada. Let us get there. When they get there, then they then use the system to blackmail the man, or to to get the man in trouble. And the man on the other side doesn't help himself, because usually he's used to that attitude at home. I want to use one instance for an example, whereby the person beats the woman when they were back in Nigeria. They used to beat. It was a normal thing. No, it was normal. Slap her, bam. And then he came to UK, and he carried on doing the same thing, beating the woman. The woman now reported it. The children reported it in school, that he has been abusing her mother. And of course, the woman stood on business and said, "This is right. This is what," and the support in the community that we have here, they supported her. This is not right. They explained to her it's not correct. This man should not be beating you, because the children are now traumatized. It has been traumatizing the children. But the children are going to school and hearing, because the child, how it happened, that the child beat another child. The boy slapped a girl. And they ask him why. He said, "My daddy does it. I am allowed. I'm a man. I'm allowed to slap." Do you see how it has entered that child's mind? And that was how that case aggravated. And they had to take the children, separated the man, told him he's not allowed to go to the house, automatically separation, because that's the way the system works. And eventually the man started accusing the woman that set him up. But wasn't the woman that set him up. He was one that did it by himself. The children were watching him. So I would say, in cases in the cases where you're talking about citing couples having problem when they come here, you find that there was the foundation wasn't firm. Most times foundation, because if you treat a woman right, you've been treating the woman right, unless that woman is an evil person. And it does happen. There are some with
There
exemptions.
are
There are some
can I just
evil
keep in
people.
something? There are many evil,
Yeah, but you know what? Again, I
many.
say,
So
when you were marrying the woman, or when you were going into a relationship, did you open your eyes? Some of us go into blind relationships just because of the beauty of the person, or the handsome of the person. The person is handsome, the looks. This is where I go back to, before you go into any relationship, do you know the person?
Mas, there's a reason why I didn't want us to go deep into this, because the reason is that there are many angles to it. One angle is where you've said, but it's not always that way.
Mhm.
So I just don't want us to go deep into it. But the truth is, there are the kinds of stories we hear, which sometimes is not really the fault of the man per se. So, because of that, I don't want us to generalize, but
I understand. But can I just say,
there are cases where people make a lot of sacrifices for their families, and then come here and they're betrayed. That's what I'll just use. You understand?
mm,
But at the end of the day,
Is it me
that's
that will
why
go and
I
bring water?
said that you have to look at your personal circumstances and
Is it your
decide
water?
on what's best for you, especially when it comes to making extreme sacrifices, and you know that your family situation may not be perfect or may not be okay.
sorry, and that's why I wanted to say that sometimes you find that those pressure that you're talking about that happens, and you feel that the sacrifice of the man is overlooked, or is being relegated. You find that a lot of, and again, it's this I'm citing. I can't call him, so I'm just using situations where the family have come as a large, immediate, like the five of them have come to the UK. They've all, the father, the mother, three children have come to the UK, and that is a lot of pressure. Imagine, even we that we have already settled here, it's pressure to take care of three children, family, and it's just one person that is working. Do you understand me? That pressure was a lot, which takes me to the this that when you are planning to come to the UK, ask yourself, are we buoyant enough to survive? 5 of us. Sometimes the right step might be to one person to come, the husband or the wife, whoever, to come first, start preparing, and that way bring the other people, the other family, rest of the family. I've seen instances where the wife might say, I can't let my husband go alone because I don't trust that he'll be able to stay without me. Maybe you start having relationship, I cannot do distant marriage, distant relationship. So I have to come with him. If it works for you like that, but your pocket, again, it's down to what you have. Because when pressure enters, it can affect the dynamics in a relationship. Pressure can break people. And I tell you, I'm sure Dr. Terry, you understand when I say pressure. You have to pay for the rent. You have to, in fact, to find the house. Because some houses will not take you and your family, and you don't have the amount to pay. If you are 5 of you, they'll tell you that you cannot stay in a 2 bedroom, or they will tell you simple and short, they can't give you rent, is over stressing the house. They'll say it's 3 rooms that you need, and you cannot afford that 3 rooms. Things like this, people have to think. This is where, before you travel, this is where the planning, and I'm going back to the planning. Before you come, remember that the currency is already on the high side. The inflation rate, the exchange rate doesn't favor us. When you're looking at that, whatever money you think you have, when you bring it here, it's chicken pea. It's peanuts. So when you're coming here, plan properly. Maybe perhaps one person should come first. And I'm not one to say which way. I cannot tell you which way. But for me, I would rather one person comes first, prepare, and then we come and join. And another thing is, are you leaving your children with someone back in Nigeria? That's another topic on its own. I couldn't do it. I just simply couldn't. I'm sorry if I'm saying it. I'm saying it out of my own. I know myself. I can't leave my children. That movie, Not Without My Daughter, Not Without My Child. I am that woman. I can't. I just can't. So, because even if you leave it to your sister or your brother, you just don't know how people will behave to your child when you're not there. So I feel that for me, it's best for one person to come. If it's a family with children, father, maybe the man or the wife will come first, and then later we join the person there. And we all have to work. You know, I would say, don't be so proud and so stuck in your way that I cannot do that kind of dirty job. What nonsense! Around nonsense. This is the UK. Everyone works. There's dignity in labor. In case you're coming from a place where you think, oh, the washing dishes or doing this job is beneath me, maybe you should stay there then. Because here, when push comes to shove, we all get our hands dirty. We all get into it and work. Everyone is a breadwinner. Even you see children working, 16-year-old working. And there is no, in this country, as far as I know, that is working for me and my husband. There's no, I'm a man, I don't wash dishes, so I don't cook food. There's no, it's your work to feed baby. We all do it. We are in it together. And it has been working for me. I don't know of other people, but this algorithm, it work for me. And it's been a proven methodology for most people that I have talked to, because I spoke to people to ask them how it worked for them. How are they doing it? And they told me, and I adapted it, and it worked for me. So I'm not telling you to use my method, but for me, this is what worked for me, and I'm fine. You're muted. Sorry.
Oh yeah, thank you so much, Miles. Yeah, yeah, very. I like the contributions you have given. Tunde, are you still there?
Tunde has japad.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, let's continue. So, um, like you said, I think the family dynamics can be varied, so we can't give just one advice for everybody. But like you said, it's good to just people to prepare, and decide what's best for them. Pick some of these advice. Um, a bit of differences with where we are from, for example, in terms of taking care of the kids here, might be very difficult to get someone to take care of your kids. Um, Back home, if you are in the stage of life where your children are still very small, sometimes you might be able to get help easily, or you can make arrangements with neighbors and friends to take care of your kids when you have to go to work sometimes. But over here, it's very difficult. So, and paying for childcare is very expensive. Not everybody can afford it. So that's another area where people might need to make adjustments, because if you're coming in with the mind that, oh, me and my wife or my husband will work, sometimes it may not be favorable for you at that time, and one person may need to stay behind to take care of the kids. Those are things that you need to consider. Um, Not everybody wants to leave their children behind. For me, I think it will be almost impossible for me to do that. Same with spouse, family, and all that. Some people want to always carry their family along anywhere they are going to. So, but it all depends. But you must do investigations to avoid being stranded, because a lot of times people do not make enough inquiries and then they find themselves in very difficult situation.
Another, can I mention another thing that I found when I moved to Cyprus, because Cyprus was my first experience, of course. So when I moved to Cyprus, what I struggled with was time, because back home we'd run on African time, and I, even though my dad was always hammering it to us, like, because my dad schooled in Russia, he was always hammering it to us that you must, when they say 5 o'clock, they mean 5 minutes to five, you are standing there, not five only. By 5 minutes to five, so that's 4:55. You are standing at the train station waiting for the train. By 5 o'clock, the train moves. Me, I would use African time. I did not used to understand. I did not appreciate what my dad was saying. See, when I got there and I found out, I've almost failed the exam because I came in. I went there africantime.com. So I learned before I go. By the time I reach UK here, yeah, when they say, when my first boss, I was the first company I worked, they were impressed. They were like, "You're Nigerian. When you come early," I was like, "Yeah." I already had my experience, my fair share of being late. It almost cost me my certificate. So yes, I cannot afford to be late. And I think many of us struggle with this. Because when I was working in a particular company here in the UK, there was a Nigerian guy that also was there, and he was fired because of time. They gave him 3 warnings, and they asked me why is he, and he comes and he's making excuses, making this, and they're telling him, we also, he didn't even have a family, he was a young man. And one day I had to ask him, I said, come, guy, waiting they make you late. Why you they late? And he couldn't, he just said, I'm just tired. I asked him, are you doing another job? Are you
Now
the, it's just
culture of late
something,
coming.
yes. It's something that is already part, and it's affected him. He got fired. Because he came here, he was asking me that, can you talk to them? I said, there's nothing I can say. I said, you gave you the rope, you used it to hang yourself. I said, I've begged for you. This is the third time. I can't. I said, because it's my name that is going to be on the line. If I'm giving someone reference about someone, I actually know in my heart here in the UK, but if you ask me for reference, before we give you reference, brother, I go hard because I need to know that you are not someone that will go and form my hand. As I said, burning bridges. I don't want to send someone somewhere that it now puts a bad reputation, because I will have someone else that I want to send there. And because of that, someone that have burned the bridge, they will not give that person. Do you understand me? Another thing I had to embrace feedback. In Nigeria, someone when they ask, when you tell, so maybe you bought something and they ask you for feedback and the thing not sweet, maybe the right jollof rice not sweet. You can't tell them that it's not sweet, oh, because they will tell, they become angry. Here, you give them feedback, oh, they thrive on feedback. They love feedback. They would ask you, so what do you think? If when I now say, I think the sauce was nice, but maybe the salt, you might want to reduce the salt. Your hand just a bit, it was a bit heavy on the salt. Everything else was good. It's just the salt. Or you tell them the dress was nice, but it was a bit tight fit here. They like feedback. But us, if you tell us feedback, hey, we're not happy. She's an evil person. She want to ruin my business. She want to ruin my business. So I find myself now, the people I'm doing business with now, a lot of them are either our fellow African people that have understood feedback, or they are other people or other nationalities. Because I just can't deal with that kind of behavior. Mm-mm. That's one of the things I am. You know how Dr. Terry said that there are some part of the culture that we embrace, and there are some part of their culture that we don't take. This very part of it for feedback, I embrace it. I love it. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Mhm.
When you give feedback, I love it because it gives me room to improve. When you tell me I did something wrong, maybe I did something I could have been better in my work. I want to know how I could get better. If not, I'm not going to be better. I'll be stuck to my ways. So yeah, these are some of the things I off my.
Tunde.
Yeah, I'm
So
here, but unfortunately, I'm finding it difficult to put on my camera. But you
yeah,
can
that's
hear
fine.
me.
That's fine. Yeah, we can hear you.
I don't know. I don't know why my camera is stuck. I've been trying
No,
hard.
we'll make do with that. We'll make do with that. So
Okay, so
we've gone through some of the questions you asked, just to know if you have other questions you want to
yes,
touch on.
I was privileged to hear so many explanations from you and from Mars. Okay, so but can we just be more specific now? Let's look at the adjustments now that an immigrant can make for success in well, you have touched them. You know, we talked the cultural adaptation, language barriers, how you can adjust, and social integration. And what about the your professional life and your financial stability? How do you adjust um, professionally? And you know, Mars talked about that this culture of this habit of late coming. You know, can do you have any inspiring stories that people might want to hear that of habits that people bring from their home country that's that mad them, or habits that we employed in the new place we found ourselves that's made us. Just share with us.
Okay, so the questions are very hot questions. Anyway, um, I'll just try to say the ones I can relate with, or I can remember. So for you talked about um, professional adjustments.
Yeah.
Yes, almost every profession requires a lot of adjustments. A lot. The way we do things is completely. I will not use the word completely, but it's almost completely different. It's almost like you are learning and relearning how you do things. For example, I can talk in the health sector. The way you interact with patients is different. Um, you need to adjust in here. You almost need to explain every single thing you do. So if I want to put a needle in your hand in Nigeria, I might just say, I need to put a needle in your hand, and I don't even talk to you. I just bring your hand clean. When it's time to needle, you know. But here I'm gonna be like, good morning. I'll introduce myself. There's no rush, and this is what I want to do. Are you okay with it? Person says yes. That's consent. Then you go ahead to bring the things. You tell the person, right now I'm trying to prepare the things. You're preparing the things. When you are done, you say, every step you are telling them, you are preparing their minds for every step. Right now, I'll be putting in the needle. So each step. So that's one thing I had to learn. The truth is that the everything is different. Is it the instruments we use? They were different. The ways of doing things is different. So professionally, you will need to do a new overhaul of what you know and learn something new. Um, most professions will use a bit different instrument from what you do. For example, if you're a vulcanizer, Um, the way you do your vulcanizer in Nigeria might not be the same, and so you need to learn how to use the instruments they have. So it just applies to every profession. And then what was the other parts? You mentioned profession and sorry, can't remember the other one now. Okay, while I wait for him, I just noticed that
Finance. I don't know. I was muted.
okay, yeah,
Finance.
financial adjustments. Yes, thank you for reminding me. So in terms of financial adjustments, that's a very important one because it's something that would affect everybody. But it's another case of depending on your circumstances. So for some people that come in as students, they might tend to have a very rough ride, especially if you don't have very strong financial backing and you have to work because your jobs will usually not even earn enough to feed you and accommodate you to place of planning for the future. But one thing I will say here is that generally the lifestyle here is people live for today and the month, for this today, unlike we that tend to worry a lot about the future and try to save and you know work extra just to make sure that we are trying to protect our future and that of our loved ones. But here, because or in most developed countries, because of um, the mechanisms put in place to protect people from extreme from being stranded, people then tend to worry more about now. So if you find out most of them just leave, their means is just I earn, I'm able to take care of myself for the month, maybe save a bit. And in fact, most of the time they're just saving to go for one holiday or the other. They're not really too worried about um having so much, unlike we, in terms of our mindset. But when it comes to there is the aspect I wanted to go into because you have people who come in as students and that may not apply to them. But if you come in maybe already with a job, that means you are more likely to settle quicker. Then you might want to plan yourself well because there are things like mortgage. You have to look into it and see is it something that will be suitable for me because the rents here can be quite expensive. And if you think going into the mortgage circle will improve your finances in that way, it's something you might want to consider. So those are some of the financial differences, unlike in our side. Like for example, in our area, if I'm interested in getting a house for myself and my family, I'll be thinking of how will I get the money to build the house. Either I build it gradually or I buy it outright. But here, it's almost impossible for an average person like us to be able to buy a house outright or even build one. So people will tend to use the mortgage methods where they pay parts and then the bank pays the rest and then they pay the bank gradually. So that might be another difference that we will consider. Let me stop here.
Can I just come in there with that respect? Let me touch on the finance part. With the finance
Okay.
part, you mentioned that there are mechanisms, and can I be very clear? The mechanisms that are there when you are paid your salary before your salary even reach touch your account, they have cut a chunk of your salary out to cater for your future. So these are the mechanisms. You pay NI, you pay some other insurance and other things that are put into this thing so that when your pension, when your pension and everything, when it's time for you to exit the workforce, that would then cater for you. But back home we don't have that. Even the gratuity is ghost names that fool the
We
gratuity.
we have we have we have, but our own is not functional like
It's
the
not effective.
it's
That's
not
what I mean.
organized.
It's ghost names there. People are some people are put have